We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. This is one of those times being flagged by YouTube may be worth it because it is the time for a Christmas story. This is just a usage of the music within my podcast. I hope that they will allow it for the purposes of the podcast because tis the season. This is the beginning of the holiday season and a reminder to be kind to your mind and to others. You have to give love to receive love. You can feel, but you don't always have to but you still have to control your feelings. Whether good or bad, sometimes there are going to be more bad times than good, and that's actually okay. You're not always in church having a shouting session. Just remember that as you approach good and bad in life. And just be mindful to others, encourage, because not everybody is just as happy for this season as I am. Thank you for listening. Merry Christmas, everybody. And zest that I was going to get so much done today, but of course it's right before the holidays, so it seems like everyone at my day job has lost their freaking minds. I had an effort not only to write the verbiage of what I was actually going to say for a podcast today. My intent was to record for a podcast, but of course that didn't happen because, again, the people I work with are nuts. But anyways, in this episode, I endeavor to discuss and celebrate Christmas around the world. And as I prepared the podcast, I realized that I had very little knowledge of how Christmas is celebrated in exotic locations like Egypt, India, and Greece, even though these have some of the oldest Christian populations on this planet. So I hope you enjoy that piece. I will help celebrate the food and the traditions around Christmas. And also I will end with a reading from Dickens. And then I'll also talk about seasonal affective disorder. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you will enjoy this podcast just as much as I've enjoyed creating it. It's called a Hathor hymnal. It is a celebration of one of the Egyptian goddesses of light. And there are no, technically I could not find any free or non-copyrighted Egyptian Christmas songs. But if you guys happen to know of any, send them my way. But the Coptic Christians are a religious minority in Egypt. The celebrations surrounding that version of Christmas in that country has become more commercialized. Even non-practicing Christians actually celebrating, even getting a Christmas tree. There is a celebration for the 43 days up to Christmas, which is actually celebrated in January 7th, and this is what my grandmother used to call Old Christmas, but it's actually called Christmas Day in the Coptic faith. And there is fasting, and you refrain from eating meat, egg, and butter all during that time. The Christmas Eve before January 7th, there's a special service or liturgy. And then there's a bunch of parties and festivities on actual Christmas Day with the sweet biscuit called conch, which is actually given as a gift, and then followed by massive dinners topped off with lamb stew. Yummers! And there's Baba Noel may make an appearance, who is Father Christmas to all of the practicing believers. Giving out presents only to those that are nice. Even in spite of the commercialization of this event, it's still very festive and celebrating the birth of the Christ child. So I've been also talking about seasonal affective disorder, basically with every podcast. And what I am also finding is that it's completely treatable and you don't have to suffer in silence. I would hate for you to be here in the United States, Egypt, or anywhere that celebrates Christmas, especially at this joyful time of year, and you're just so sad. Either you feel you have to drown your sorrows in alcohol or drugs, or suffer in silence. That's not the case. You can actually call for help at 1-800-273-8255 at any time, as well as there's an online chat feature for more anonymity at Suicide Prevention Online on lifeline.org/chat. Or you can call 1-800-662-HELP or 1-800-662-4357. And these lines are there 24/7 for your help and to throw you a lifeline for what ails you. You should be happy, or it's happiness or recovering from depression is a possibility. And I wish you all the best and take the help because it's there for you. Just so you know, there is actually, I think it's on Hulu. A Christmas Carol is actually available for your viewing pleasure. Available on Hulu as well as Hulu Plus. And now for my read of Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Marley's Face. As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. To say that he was not startled or that his blood was not conscious of a terrible sensation to which it had been a stranger from infancy would be untrue. But he put his hand upon the key he had relinquished, turned it sturdily, walked in, and lighted his candle. He did pause with a moment's irresolution before he shut the door, and he did look cautiously behind it first, as he had half expected to be terrified with the sight of Marley's pigtails sticking out into the hall. But there was nothing on the back of the door except screws and nuts that held the knocker on, so he said pooh-pooh and closed it with a bang. The sound resounded through the house like thunder. Every room above and every cask in the wine merchant's cellars below appeared to have a separate peal of echoes its own. Scrooge was not a man to be frightened by echoes. He fastened the door and walked across the hall and up the stairs slowly too, trimming his candle as he went. You may talk vaguely about driving a coach at 6 up a good old flight of stairs or through a bad young Act of Parliament, but I mean to say you might have got a hearse up that staircase and taken it broadwise with the splinter bar towards the wall and the door towards the balustrades and done it easy. There was plenty of width for that and room to spare, which is perhaps the reason why Scrooge thought he saw a locomotive hearse going on before him in the gloom. Wow. Half a dozen gas lamps out of the street wouldn't have lighted the entry too well, so you may suppose that it was pretty dark with Scrooge's dip. Up Scrooge went, not caring a button for that. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. But before he shut his heavy door, he walked through his rooms to see that all was right, and he had just enough recollection of the face to desire to do that. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Nothing under the table, nobody under the sofa, a small fire in the grate, spoon and basin ready, and a little saucepan of gruel. Scrooge had a coal in his head upon the hob. Nobody under the bed, nobody in the closet, nobody in the dressing room. So basically, it's to say that he was looking for ghosts and he didn't find it. He was obliged to brood over things and prophets and all of everything in the Bible. And then finally, he just basically shouted, "Bah, humbug." Yes, I skipped several paragraphs because I didn't feel like reading all of that. After several turns, he sat down again as he threw his head back in the chair. His glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room, and communicated for some purpose now forgotten with a chamber in the highest story of the building. It was this with great astonishment, with strange and inexplicable dread, that as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing. It swung so softly in the outset that it scarcely made a sound, but soon it rang out loudly. So did every bell in the house. This might have lasted half a minute or a minute, but it seemed an hour. The bells ceased as they had begun together. They were succeeded by a clanking noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the cask in the wine merchant's cellar. Scrooge then remembered to have heard the ghosts in haunted houses were described as dragging change. The cellar door flew open with a booming sound, and then he heard that noise much louder on the floors below, and then coming up the stairs and coming straight towards his door. "It's humbug still," said Scrooge. "I won't believe it." His color changed, though, when without a pause it came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes. Upon its coming in, the dying flame leaped up as though it cried, "I know him! Marley's ghost!" and fell again. The same face, the very same, Marley in his pigtail, usual waistcoats, tights, and boots, the tassels on the latter bristling like his pigtail, and his coat skirts, and the hair upon his head. The chain he drew was clasped upon the middle, about his middle. It was long and wound about him like a tail, and it was made for Scrooge to observe it closely, of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses, wrought in steel. His body was transparent so that Scrooge, observing him and looking through his waistcoat, could see the two buttons on his coat behind. Scrooge had often heard it said that Marley had no bowels, but he had never believed it until now. How would you act if a ghost rolled up on you? I think he was just too calm. But anyways, no, nor did he believe it even now, though he looked the phantom through and saw it standing before him, though he felt the chilling influence of its death cold eyes and marked the very texture of the folded kerchief bound about its head, which wrapper he had not observed before. He was still incredulous and falling against his senses. "How now," said Scrooge, caustic and as cold as ever. "What do you want with me?" "Much." Marley's voice, no doubt about it. "Who are you? Ask me who I was? Who were you then?" said Scrooge, raising his voice. "You're particular for a shade," he was going to say, "to a shade," but substituted this as more appropriate. "In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley." And that's how I'm going to end this episode of Tennessee F.A.A.F.O's reading. This is getting good. He's actually in his own living nightmare when he sees the ghost of past and things left undone, and of coldness, and how he knew, and I'm suspecting how he knew his very lifetime partner very little. How much he missed, and he will now start going over the regrets of a past life. But obviously, I think the ghost Marley is coming to him to tell him he still has time to make the changes, so he will not make mistakes and waste a life worth living, and live for the joy that is of life. So, don't forget to navigate to DalesAngelsInc.com for all special offers and updates on nerd news. Drop me a line at TennesseeFro@gmail.com, or even leave a 2-minute voicemail at 423-463-0658. If it's not trolly, I may read it on air or play it for the audience. Also, if you like what you hear and you're tired of freeloading, become a patron through Podbean. patron.podbean.com/thetalkingfro, or leave me a tip at paypal.me/FeliciaDAI. And I hope you enjoyed this episode and have a great day. So a few years ago, when I was on my kick, everything British, I started reading author by the name of Sophie Kinsella, an entire Shopaholic series. She's a New York Times bestseller. And I think I fell in love with the books when I was on the road at the most times and I was listening to books on tape and Audible. Not only are her books a great read, her um, her actual the Audible version or the books on the tape version, the actress that they actually had to do the voiceover was freaking hilarious. And it's been a number of years since I've actually read any of her books. I think the last one I read was, last two I read were Shopaholic and Sister. Um, Becky Bloomwood, now Brandon, has a half sister that is a result of an affair her father had. Graham Bloomwood had, and as well as Shopaholic and Baby. Becky marries Luke Brandon, the financial PR president of a financial PR company. He understands her and loves her for who she is and all of her ADHD habits. And they have this really cute little kid, Minnie. They're back in the UK, as I said yesterday, and her parents have decided to go on this great adventure, and they moved to the up and coming or hip community in London called Shoreditch, from the suburbs. And they have dumped they've dumped the planning of Christmas on Becky for this year. I mean to say that this book was actually just published this year. It has to do with, I guess, Christmas 2019. But in effect, it is very hilarious. I know I cannot do the accent like the British actress would actually do, but in itself, it is still quite funny, I think. So here we go. And all the run up to this point is just showing how crazy and ADHD Becky is. She plans things out, but then it goes awry. She gets distracted by great deals and shopping. Never really follows through, but every now and again, it basically works itself out. We're up to the point now where she actually meets her now rock star, orgy loving ex-boyfriend from the university, who has moved into Sue's, her best friend's, cottage on their estate, because Sue's and her husband Tarquin are lower royalty. So he moves in, gets them to install a hot tub, and then they try to figure out if Luke and Becky are swingers. And of course, it's going to be hilarious because with all of her wanting to be fly, Becky is still a very conservative girl from the suburbs. It is freaking hilarious. So here we go with chapter 12. The idea won't go away. At 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, I've dropped Minnie off at school and I'm sitting at the kitchen table cutting out fabric for her nativity play costume. And I'm going to pause there. It seems that Minnie is in this primary school and her primary school teacher is really into crafts and Becky ain't really having that. And they are planning the Christmas play, I guess. So she gives them a pattern, and the parents are supposed to make this costume out of a pattern. I just can't even. But anyways, but my mind's not into it. I'm half thinking concentrate and half thinking, oh my God, I've never even been in a foursome. How does it work anyway? Like, what are the logistics? I've quite tempted to Google sex parties, what actually happens. Only Luke might walk in and get the wrong idea. In fact, here is Luke coming into the kitchen. Should I mention it to him? No, because it sounds crazy. It is crazy. How's it going? He surveys the ocean of dark blue silk filling the table. Looks good. Oh, right. I forced my attention back to Minnie's costume. It's going pretty well, thanks. I don't want to boast, but I've chosen fabulous material for Minnie's costume. I don't think Becky can sew, but. And I don't understand why she doesn't ask her homeboy, Danny Kovitz, to make the fucking costume. Really? It's the most sumptuous midnight blue silk embossed with gold spots. And okay, it wasn't the cheapest option, but then how often is your little girl a king in a school nativity? I bought some gold velvet ribbon too in sequins, meaning it's going to look spectacular. Just cutting out the pattern, I add briskly, picking my scissors back up and trying to sound like a sewing expert. I won't mention that I'm cutting it out for the second time. Total disaster first time round. But I bought some pins this time. They're so nifty. Someone should have told me about them before, and at least I had plenty of spare material. I got a bit carried away in the fabric shop and thought maybe I'd make a matching dress for myself, which is looking a tad less likely, to be honest. I'm going to make a coffee to go. You want one? Yes, please. I say absolutely as I resume cutting. I love the metallic sound of the scissors make as they slice through the material. It makes me feel like a pro. I work carefully around the curve of the sleeve, then look up at Luke watching me, a fond expression in his eyes. What? I say. Nothing. Just lucky, Minnie. Oh, I say, feeling a tiny glow inside. Well, I want her to have the best costume she can, although she might not be lucky. I add honestly, it might be a disaster. I'm not exactly brilliant at all this craft stuff, not like Sue's. I can't help a gusty sigh. You should see the stuff she makes. Becky, you're you. Other people are other people. This is going to be an awesome costume, and Minnie's going to be an awesome king. He's always so nice. Has she got any lines to learn? He asks with some interest. Should we be practicing? No, I say with a giggle. They have to make it up. Miss Lucas is into improvisation. She thinks it makes the children creative. Improvisation? Luke raises his eyebrows. Isn't that a high-risk strategy at that age? You think? Apparently, at the last rehearsal, one of the shepherds told his sheep to hurry up or he'll wallop them. Luke laughs. Well, rather Miss Lucas than me. He puts a coffee in front of me, picks up his own takeaway cup, bamboo present from Jess, and kisses me. Have fun at the Christmas fair today. I will. I watch Luke leaving. When he almost through the door, I say impulsively, hey, Luke, you know Craig and Nadine? Yes. Do you think they want to force them with us in their hot tub? But I can't. I mean, it's ridiculous. Nothing, I say, just was nice hanging out with them. Yes, he nods. It was fun. See you later. Okay, a little bit more background information. Craig and his little freaky girlfriend or open girlfriend or whatever you call her are really into swinging and sexual exploration. They don't understand monogamy, the etc. And Becky, in pure Becky form, is getting all worked up over a construct that nobody has actually broached with them. So of course the what she is imagining is worse than the actual reality of it all. So how this is going to go. Number one, the costume is going to be a disaster, and number two, of course, if they ever do get into the hot tub and the whole swinging scene, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be a complete farce. Once I get further along in the book, I'll actually stop and pause and read you that section because I know it's going to be crazy. As of what I've noticed in this particular book, it does take Kinsella a minute to get to the point. She drags it out. There's always these like subplots about subplots. And Becky gets into some maniacal craziness, and then she has to work that out at the same time as she's working out some other highfalutin crazy debacle. This is like one big long read of the I Love Lucy show with Becky Bloomwood being Lucille Ball or Lucille McGillicuddy, and Suze, who is minor royalty, being a very slender but blonde Ethel Mertz. It is completely crazy. And that's what I just realized just now, how this whole book seems to be a riff, the British riff on I Love Lucy. Isn't that crazy? But it's all going to have a particular poignant theme because it is Christmas time. Janice, and which is the next door neighbor, and Becky are getting ready to go to the Christmas fair because her mom wigged out on her about going to some dramatic. It's like her mother is trying to recapture her youth in her next adventure. And both Janice, who has been her best friend for 30, 40 years, and Becky, or the family's actually feeling left out. And of course, another subplot is what's going on with Susan Tarquin, and another subplot, what is going on with Jess and Tom. Jess is the half granola crunching Birkenstock tree hugging sister who has come back to the UK but left her husband Tom behind. There is some beef there, and I'm sure it is because of Jess's straight shooting, frugal, earth-saving vegan ways that's causing probably some disruption in that relationship. But all of this is going on in the couple of weeks run up to Christmas. Typical family, right? Makes for good reading. I'm still leaning into my spirit animal, Fro Bird, listening to Leontyne Price, as well as flipping completely to a different genre as I get my bounce on with Megan Thee Stallion. And I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Thanks. So I don't know if this is obsessive, but since I've adopted Frobird as my spirit animal, I'm realizing just how beautiful the northern cardinal is. And plus, how cool is that bird? It was a male northern cardinal with a fro. That just displays so beautifully on top of my blog post. So that's why I keep on using that picture. It can be a little intimidating. That direct stare will stop somebody dead in their tracks, won't it? But anyway, the bird itself is such a beautiful color with that brilliant red and orange hued feathers, and it just has such a magical form, as you have heard in previous episode. There's a difference between the female and male cardinal, which is astounding in itself. But even some of the female northern cardinals have red, oranges in their feathers. And there are also different colors of cardinals. They can be range in color from more oranges to yellow hues. But the female cardinal is no slouch and no joke. Depending on their diet, the time of year, and their age, they too can look, but not as overall decked out in red plumes like the male cardinal. They actually have a degree of red and orange and pink even hues in their feathers too. And they also look pretty badass while they fly too. And I think the idea of flying above it all, looking for seeds and nuts, I can get with that. Just the freedom of it all. And then heading south when it gets too cold up north, I can dig that too. You are listening to the musical stylings of probably one of the greatest, or is the greatest soprano of all times, Madam Leontyne Price, as she sings "O Holy Night," and I also will play a small portion of her Ave Maria. My mother passed away over 23 years ago, and I haven't really spoken of her or remember her or my grandmother since the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She passed away 23 years ago of metastatic breast cancer. I think if she had lived a little bit longer and had been able to get into either a trial or at MD Anderson, or even the Cancer Centers of America, where she could have actually gotten immunomodulatory and other therapies, even with stage 4 breast cancer, there is a lot of therapy now that actually will allow you to control the disease, although you don't get into remission. So I remember her in the fact that she used to watch this time of year these Christmas specials, and her favorite, at least I thought it was, her favorite song was actually "Oh Holy Night." I remember her voice soaring through the house as she sang this song with such clarity and gusto. While most of her sisters claimed alto, she was clearly a soprano. I always think with a little bit of encouragement and training, she would have made it out of Princess Anne County, now Virginia Beach, and had a similar trajectory as Madam Price. Just like any art form, I think she came to appreciate opera and probably Marian Anderson and Leontyne Price later in age, when she can afford to do it. But she had actually already been married to my trifling father and had both my sister and I. But Madam Price left small time Laurel, Mississippi to be trained at Juilliard, and then she received the longest standing ovation for her performance in Il Trovatore in 1961, a whopping 42 minutes. And I can only imagine my mom with similar aspirations, but nobody ever pushed her, or she never really thought that she could have that same trajectory. Leontyne Price was initially a babysitter and a maid in a house of white people down in Laurel, Mississippi, that assisted her and encouraged her to sing. She went to Ohio, Wilberforce University. She then was sponsored initially by Robeson, but there was some flack because of his communist leanings. And then she was sponsored again by her white sponsored family to go on and to train in Juilliard. And then she was off to the races. She received some of the best voice training in the world and played with the Metropolitan Opera, as well as being accompanied by some of the greatest orchestra, including the Vienna Orchestra. And even if you don't really know who she is, or don't really follow opera, you can definitely appreciate her range, the beauty of her voice, and how the spiritual fell, and how she was an anomaly. First it was Marian Anderson, and then it was Leontyne Price, and it will always be Leontyne Price, I think. And I think because her voice reminds, in my mom's love for her, unbeknownst to me, and I couldn't appreciate it as a young person, just how beautiful her voice actually was. This is my mom. I can appreciate it now that I'm actually a year older than what my mom was when she passed away. I can appreciate the beauty now. And I wish you always wish you had more time to spend with that person, getting to know them on a different plane and a different level, what they liked and disliked, and why she was so enthralled with this particular woman. And if she really admired her, I don't know. Maybe it was Marian Anderson or another operatic singer, and I just wouldn't have ever known. It's just that this particular artist reminds me so much of her, and I actually get to enjoy this music because it was introduced to me by my mother. So I hope you enjoyed this little tiff into classical music because, again, I'm focusing on the run up to Christmas on things that bring me joy, and this particular music actually brings me joy. So when I saw the previews of this on CBS Morning News this morning, I was immediately laughing like a donkey. Megan Thee Stallion and James Colbert or Corden, I don't know. Yes, James Corden. I was completely tripped out over the remake of Savage Santa. You gotta listen to this. You're gonna get your bounce on. You gotta watch the video, which I actually have included in the extended notes on my blog. But this is freaking hysterical, and I hope you enjoy it.
Santa's back.
Made a list, checked it twice.
He sees you when you're sleeping, bitch. Yeah, he's the new mall Santa, hoeing through Atlanta.
Well, this is how I plan to end this episode of Tennessee Fro is Reading. I wrote a little bit about my spirit animal and my feelings about the music that I'm enjoying, the Christmas Carol, more typical than atypical. This particular episode, I plan on doing follow-up episodes as I conclude my reading on Christmas Shopaholic, but I'll probably do that tomorrow. And don't forget to navigate to writersblockcoffee.com and use my promo code 10FRO is reading to receive 10% off of your orders, as well as a Libris. They still have a special going on using the promo codes that I'll actually include in the extended notes of this episode. And of course, 74 million people were wrong, I think, and they all need a bag of gummy penises. So navigate to shipabagadicks.com and use my promo code MaryDicks to receive up to 20% off of your order, as well as shipping to ship these fools anonymous gummy penises and chocolate dicks. And tell them that 10Fro sent you. As well as tune in tomorrow for the upcoming episode for 10Fro is reading the 12th podcast of Christmas. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as I enjoyed creating it. And thank you for listening.
I'm a Santa.